Okay, Richard, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It's great to see you, if only over Zoom.
Always great to see you, Kevin, and soon in person. So we'll make up for it in a second.
Absolutely, absolutely. Getting ready for the show coming up. Very excited once again to be back in person. Always, I think we found out post-pandemic, there's no replacing the in-person. It's weird to think that I went to the virtual ISTE and there were actually conversations of, will we ever have these again in person? Will they be profitable? Will they be, worthwhile? Obviously, that answer has been given to us over after New Orleans and after Philly. But maybe we can start off and talk a little bit about is that you still have a virtual element to the show. So are those drawn from innovations or lessons learned during the pandemic, or just give us a state of play when it comes to virtual remote learning for professional development for teachers?
Yeah, sure. No, your point is right. We were all kind of wondering what the future was going to hold, and interestingly enough, as you mentioned, we do still have a virtual option to participate in ISTE Live, and plan to keep that for the future. We found that's particularly helpful for a lot of our international participants, where the cost of travel at times is so much that it becomes very difficult to do, or even possibly folks here that are a little closer but have a family commitment or an issue and aren't able to join in person. So we'll always continue that to some extent. We try very hard with the virtual experience to not have it feel just like watching TV, right? We do have interactions. We built out some of that stuff. We learned during the pandemic how to do virtual events. We also participated in a lot of events where we said we don't want to have our events feel like that are virtual. So it's a very good experience. But yes, we do really, as much as possible, want people to come in person, because we feel like there is some magic that happens when you can see people, connect with people. As you know, ISTE Live is one part going to the program sessions, but a whole lot of the learning actually happens in the spaces around the official program, and so that's just that's a powerful experience. And so if you can join us in person, love that. If not, we'll certainly make the virtual experience as good as it can be without having you join us in person.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, going around to the poster board sessions, going just walking and seeing people, coincidentally in the hallways, it's kind of a carnival atmosphere, but that really kind of brings out a lot of inspiration. So
it's fun. It's funny, Kevin, just that you said about coincidentally running into somebody. We have an experienced team. We actually our team structure. I don't know that anybody knows this, but our team structure, we do not have an events team. We have an experiences team, and we really believe that we don't create events. We create experiences that happen to be in a physical location sometimes. And one of the things that they often say is they work meticulously engineer serendipitous moments, right? And so we very carefully design meeting places, very carefully look at the type of furniture, very carefully look at the type of screen, the type of activity that has to be there in order to have you just happen to run into somebody with similar interests at this particular place, right? And that's what people say. They're like, I go to ISTE Live and I just have all these, interesting, just sort of magical connections. And you're like, yep, there have been hundreds and hundreds of hours put into making those magical moments happen, right?
yeah, it's just kind of the same with like the learning design theories that we hopefully are putting into schools themselves.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Same idea.
So, we can't have a conversation in 2024 without some point mentioning AI, of course. It's taken all the oxygen
AI,
out of the
what's
room.
that? Kevin, AI?
Yeah, have you heard of it? Yeah, it's just a cool new thing. Um, I was mentioning before we started recording 2 years ago in New Orleans, I know it was on the agenda, but it certainly wasn't at the top. Last year, when it came from the industry side anyway, every ed tech company seemed to have turned into an ed tech AI company. And now here we are where obviously the technology is prominent and obviously it's a game changer. And, so I don't want to be too cynical about it. But at the same time, between New Orleans and Philly, there was a bit of a fear cycle to AI, I found. It's going to replace teachers, or it's going to do damage to the profession, or it's going to take over society, right? And then between Philly and now, I've seen a bit of a hype cycle where again it's better than sliced bread. It's going to change everything. It already has changed everything for better or for worse. And now I kind of see us starting to get into a little bit, especially with the Microsoft and Khan Academy announcement of well, here's your bot, try it. Now maybe there's a little bit of a reality cycle. Where do you see us in that kind of spectrum of how this affects the work of educators who are going to be attending ISTE, what are the things that you think they should prioritize when they have AI chattering in their ears all over the place? Like what should they be pulling out?
Yeah, great question. And I do think we're at a sort of I don't know, maybe a moment where the conversation is actually starting to be kind of a real meaningful conversation. Like you said, at first it was like all fear, which was unwarranted,
Yeah,
all excitement, which was also unwarranted, right?
yeah,
And now I think we're kind of settling in the just sort of meaningful zone where there's some really awesome stuff and some problems that we got to deal with, and being able to work that through. I do think, the number of schools that are sort of banning AI or sort of ignoring AI are very few at this point. And the few that are, I mean, all I can say is you're on the wrong side of history on this one, right? Like it is, we can talk about banning electricity too at some point if you'd like, but
right,
that
right.
is the category that this is in, right? So vast majority of school and school leaders saying, yeah, we're here. We know this is what's happening. We know this is the world we're in. How do we do it right? Now, no, something interesting, Kevin, that you'll notice on the program, we have taken a very intentional and slightly different angle on the conversation about AI for learning than maybe in other organizations. So there's a lot of places you go, a lot of events that I go to, and it's, what do the tools do and how do you pick the tools? And it's very tool focused. And do yes, we need to have tools that are good tools in an AI world, and we want schools to pick good tools. So don't misunderstand that. But what we're trying to do is shift to a deeper conversation, which is what is the role of school? What is the role of education in an AI world? How are we preparing young people to thrive in an AI world? What are the skills they need to know to be able to be future learners and leaders when they're going to be working on teams where not all members of their team are human, right? Like these are the skills that we need to be thinking, regardless of what app or tool you found to help you make lesson plans better, which again is great. Find an app and tool and make lesson plans better. But there's a conversation that is far more important about how we're helping young people grow up in an AI world. And so you'll see a lot of the sessions that we have, a lot of the programming that we have are going to be about this idea of helping shift to create AI creators, not just AI consumers. How we're talking about what are the questions that we should be asking? What are the uniquely human skills that should never be handed off to AI? What are skills that we absolutely should be handing off to AI because they're taking our time away from doing the things that we really should do as humans?
Right.
That's the level of conversation that we're trying to move to. And I'm incredibly excited because I don't think there's been an event yet, certainly the size of ISTE Live, where that is really the key focus, is how are we thinking about the redesign of learning in an AI world and for an AI world.
And looking at the roster of speakers that you have and the innovators, and I guess we're now at a point in 72 months in, some of the most progressive schools and districts have been swimming in it and have been dealing with these issues that you're talking about. And so they might be able to share those best practices with folks who are still worried about how
Absolutely.
it's being used, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the great part is we're all, this is new to everybody, right? Everybody's all at this stage, but we do have some great early strategies that some schools have taken and some teachers have taken. And so we don't need to be thinking like, even though we're all early stage, we also don't need to be inventing everything from scratch. And
Right.
so we're going to try our best. We've worked hard to curate some really amazing presenters and projects so that if you're curious, if you haven't really thought about some of these, haven't grappled with some of these situations, maybe thought, let's just get through this school year. Whew, we'll deal with this in the fall. This is a great time to just glean a bunch of ideas, things that are really working well
Yeah.
for schools and around using AI and learning, and just take those ideas, just fill up the toolkit of ideas and really take those back for the fall.
Because I don't mean to make the light of the challenges that there are, right? I mean, because in terms of as you're focusing on the student use of these technologies
Yeah.
and the best way to use it and the ethical ways in which to use it and how do you tie those into acceptable use policies and when it comes to cheating and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, there are real issues that we have to grapple with. But they're ones that in some ways are issues that we've had to grapple with for a while, and AI is a bit of a forcing function to make us address them. So, assessments, right? Let's just take that. There's been a lot of concern about cheating from AI, and there's been some interesting research that has shown that there's actually almost no change in the rate of cheating from before and after the introduction of AI tools, right? So cheating has been going on. Yeah, and to be clear, it doesn't mean that there hasn't been cheating. There's been a very
Right.
high amount of cheating that's happened in schools. suddenly we care about it. Like, okay, great. Like, I don't know why we suddenly care so much. I'm glad we do. But now is a chance to think, can we make more authentic assessments? Can we make better assessments? When you have cheating, the problem with cheating is usually that your assessments are bad. So
Yeah,
let's fix that. And that's been happening for years.
yeah,
I don't know why we suddenly care, but the fact that this is a catalyst for us to help change our thinking around assessment, awesome, right?
yeah,
There's a number of things like that where I think it's just a good moment, differentiating instruction, right? We've known for a long time that having one plan, one assessment, one project for every student to complete is not good learning practice.
yeah,
But now all of a sudden we're going, oh, hey, we can think about really how do we tackle differentiated learning in a powerful way. So I'm excited about these shifts that AI is forcing us to grapple with that have been around for a long time. It's just a catalyst to get us to start thinking differently about some things.
yeah, absolutely. Now, another thing I noticed while doing my due diligence on the site, logging in, registering, going through the sessions,
Yep,
uh,
good.
across the top of the banner, some logos with ASCD and talking about events that are coming up, both well the ones that have just passed, but also in the future.
Yep.
Probably last year, that was probably the biggest news I would think coming out of our little goldfish bowl of a world here in edtech was the acquisition or merger of ISTE and ASCD. Um, Lots of scuttlebutt. What's going to happen, or what are we doing with the events? How it's going to turn out? I have you on the hot seat here. Maybe you can kind of give us a little bit of the lowdown.
Well, I'll give you a preview of upcoming attractions, and then another part that I can't share yet, but I will be sharing at ISTE Live. So
All right, fair enough.
two things to me. So the first part I can give you a little bit of a heads up on because we've started to share this a bit. We will next year, so beginning in 2025. We will be combining, and the way I want to be careful to say this, we're really co-locating both our ISTE Live event and our ASCD annual conference. And so it's still two events. We're still going to run ISTE Live. We're still going to run ASCD Annual Conference, but we're going to do it in the same convention center at the same time. And so what it will mean is if you register for either event and you'll have a badge for one or the other, that badge will be accepted at the sessions at the other conference. And so it allows you to come and still experience ISTE Live, still experience annual conference. But if you want to then go and say, hey, there's some great sessions over here on the other side, you could absolutely do that. And then there'll be some shared main stage experiences that we'll do as well, where we'll bring the whole group together. So I'm really excited about this. And by the way, the cost is going to stay the same. So we're not going to be raising the doubling the cost or raising the cost. It's going to be same deal, but you'll just have access to these two great programs. And what we've started to hear already from some of our school leaders is they've said, this is great because now we can actually bring our teams. We can take our whole team, whether they're on the instructional side, whether they're on the technology side, whether they're in some hybrid in between the two, which a lot of people are. And we love that. We actually want more people. That's part of why we did the merger, is we feel like everybody should start to be in a hybrid role between technology and instruction. So it's a great place to be able to come with your whole team and then be able to take advantage of it. And we're just trying to make sort of the kind of one-stop shop education event of the year. And that'll be happening next year. So this is the last standalone ISTE Live that we'll have. And then from here on out, it'll be co-located with our ASCD annual conference.
All right, and then you'll keep your powder dry for the other stuff.
Let me
Next
just
week.
say, here's what I'll tell you. We got a lot of questions about what's going to happen with our membership. We have 2 membership programs right now, and combined we have over 100,000 members. We're the largest membership organization in the education space. So we'll be sharing a little bit about next steps around membership, but you got to wait until next week for that.
All right, that's fair enough. Well, just to finish up here, when you're looking at the schedules and you're looking at the speakers, I mean, you have a certain point of view that no one else really has, but in terms of implementing this and getting this together, anything that you're especially excited for or anticipating, maybe the way you were 2 years ago when you saw AI coming around the corner, whether it's a technology or whether it's I don't know, a cultural shift, or kind of give us maybe your top 1 or 2 hopes for what's going to be happening next week.
I'm happy to. It's hard to pick 1 or 2, by the way, but let me try. And I'll share an example of one of a great experience that we're going to have there. So I really think that this is it's a fun year because it's the first year where I'm feeling like we've distanced enough from the trauma of COVID that we're sort of finally able to say, all right, what's next, right? Like it just took us a year. The year before we were still kind of coming out of the woods. This year
Absolutely.
was sort of the year to be like, okay, whew, we're all back to normal, and now we're starting to say, all right, what's next? And so one of the things that we're really helping to create and cultivate the conversation is around how can we make sure learning is a joyful experience. We lost some of the joy as we went through COVID, certainly as we came out of COVID and we found that test scores had dropped, attendance rates had dropped, and so we got really serious and we were really doubling down on being serious about fixing all the problems. But now I think we're at a point where we say, hey, if we really want to make learning awesome moving forward, we're going to have to care about having learning be joyful and exciting and engaging. And so that's going to be, you'll see that as a theme through all of our conversation. Curiosity has got to lead the day. We are going to be releasing a new set of learning principles. We have been looking at what are, we say we want every kid to have an awesome learning experience. Well, what is that? What does that mean? Everybody has different ideas of what that means. And it turns out it's not actually articulated anywhere. There's no common definition of what amazing learning looks like. And so we've spent a long time with a lot of education research and a lot of practitioners coming up with a framework that we believe is going to really help us create fantastic, amazing, engaging, joyful, creative learning experiences for students. So you'll see that as a thread throughout. And just as maybe a final thought, you'll see that as much as possible, we want to highlight using technology to accelerate curiosity and creativity. One of our keynote speakers, I'm very excited about, Dr. Moore. She's a professional ballet dancer. And she has, but also has a background in STEM and engineering. And so she has designed a performance that she will do for the participants there, where she will be she'll be doing a ballet dance with AI robots. And she's programmed it and programmed this very sort of cool, I don't even know how to describe it, Kevin, this really cool interaction between human and machine in an artistic way. And I think it's just so indicative of the world that we're in now, right? We are no longer it's not two separate categories. We're interacting and interfacing with technology in much deeper, more intimate ways. And I think she brings that to life in her, in the ballet, in the dance that she's going to do. So that just gives you a sense of some of the theme that you will hopefully feel at the conference about focus on creativity and curiosity and using technology to help really accelerate creativity and curiosity as we make our schools joyful places.
Excellent. As always, enthused about what's going to be seen there and enthused about the interactions. Looking forward to seeing you. You'll be keeping me honest at that 8 a.m. Media meeting, I'm sure, on Monday
we'll
morning.
Bring snacks for you. We'll make sure there's donuts or something. Hey, and I'm excited. You're going to be running around capturing stories, helping to, really catch some of the highlights of what's going on there, Kevin. So I'm excited about that. I'll be following your work too, so I can know what's going on, because you'll catch stories that I don't even know about. It'll be great.
Excellent. We'll look forward to seeing you in person next week,
Cool.
Richard. Thanks
Can't
again.
wait. Thanks.